I've been a journalist for over a decade. But nothing could have prepared me for the eerie silence that greeted me in Ravenswood. It's a town that was once home to 300 residents. But on a fateful night in 1987, every single one of them vanished into thin air. As I stepped out of my car and onto the crumbling asphalt of Ravenswood's main street, a chill ran down my spine. The town was never more than a speck on the map, nestled deep in the heart of the mountains. But its disappearance had become a fascinating mystery that had haunted me for years. I had spent countless hours poring over news archives, interviewing former neighbors, and scouring the internet for any mention of Ravenswood. But the more I learned, the more questions I had. The official story was that the town was abandoned due to a combination of economic decline and environmental disasters. But the sheer suddenness of the exodus suggested that something more sinister was at play. I had always been drawn to the unknown, and Ravenswood was the ultimate enigma. As I began to explore the town, I couldn't help but feel like I was being watched. The streets were lined with old houses, their windows like empty eyes staring back at me. I walked up to the first house I saw, a small, white painted bungalow with a porch that seemed to be sagging under the weight of time. The front door was unlocked, and I pushed it open, calling out into the darkness. There was no answer. Of course, I stepped inside, my footsteps echoing off the walls. The interior was musty and decaying, but it was clear that the occupants had left in a hurry. There were still dishes in the sink, and a calendar on the wall was frozen in time. The month of October 1987 staring back at me like a ghostly reminder of the town's fate. I spent the next few hours exploring the house, searching for any clues that might explain what had happened to the people who lived there. But every room I entered seemed to raise more questions than answers. I found a child's bedroom, the bed still made, the toys still scattered across the floor. I found a kitchen, the table still set for dinner, the food still congealing on the plates. And I found a living room, the TV still blaring static, the newspapers still scattered across the coffee table. It was as if the residents of Ravenswood had simply gotten up and walked away, leaving behind everything they had ever known. As the sun began to set, I made my way back to the town's main street, my mind reeling with theories and questions. I had always been skeptical of the official story, and now I was more convinced than ever that something was off. I decided to pay a visit to the local library, hoping to find some records or archives that might shed some light on the town's disappearance. The library was a small, unassuming building, but as I pushed open the door, I was surprised to find that it was still fully stocked. The books were dusty, but they seemed to be in good condition, and I spent the next few hours browsing through the shelves, searching for any mention of Ravenswood. It was there, tucked away in a corner of the library, that I found a small, leather-bound book. The cover was worn, but the pages inside were filled with handwritten notes, detailing the history of Ravenswood from its founding to its disappearance. As I flipped through the pages, I began to notice a strange symbol, repeated throughout the text. It looked like some sort of code, and I wondered if it might hold the key to unlocking the secrets of Ravenswood. I spent the rest of the night poring over the book, trying to decipher the code. But it wasn't until the next morning that I finally cracked it. The symbol was a simple substitution cipher, and once I had decoded the message, I was shocked to discover that it was a warning, left behind by one of the town's residents. The message spoke of an imminent disaster, one that would destroy the town and everyone in it. It was then that I realized the true horror of Ravenswood's disappearance. The townspeople hadn't just vanished, they had been erased. and I had a feeling that I was getting close to the truth, closer than I had ever intended to be. As I stood there, the decoded message still clutched in my hand, I felt a chill run down my spine. I knew that I had to get out of Ravenswood, to leave the town and its secrets behind. But as I turned to leave, I heard a faint whisper, carried on the wind. It was a soft, raspy voice, and it seemed to be calling my name. I spun around, but there was no one there. The voice seemed to be coming from all around me, echoing off the buildings. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, the whisper stopped. I was left standing there, my heart pounding in my chest, wondering if I had really heard it at all. But I knew what I had heard, and I knew that I had to get out of Ravenswood before it was too late. As I walked back to my car, the silence seemed to close in around me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unblinking eyes were trained on me from the shadows. I got into my car and started the engine, feeling a sense of relief wash over me as I pulled away from the curb. But as I glanced in the rearview mirror, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The streets of Ravenswood were empty, the houses looming like specters in the fading light. And then, I saw it, a figure, standing in the middle of the street, watching me leave. I slammed on the brakes, my heart racing, and turned to get a better look. But when I turned back, the figure was gone. I was left with more questions than answers, and a feeling that I would never be able to shake the haunting memory of Ravenswood. The town may have disappeared, but its secrets would stay with me forever. A reminder of the horrors that lurk in the darkest recesses of human experience.